So the question I always ask everybody, so Sullivan, so good to see you. We've been chatting for a while now. So is what brand you work for and what are your responsibilities?
I am the global brand ambassador for Dulce Cognac, as you can see just above there, and I'm basically promote the spirit. I talk to the PR. I educate bartenders, the trade, because not only the bartenders, also the waiters. Um, oh, here's Antis.
There's Ansis. Everybody's here. The house is full. Thank you for your
Maybe
patience, everybody.
customs.
All right, so I was just asking Sullivan the first question, which is what brand you work for, what your responsibilities. So Sullivan, continue your responsibilities. So you're educating the trade, the bartenders,
Yeah,
wait staff.
educating anybody that needs to learn, that has to learn, that wants to learn things about cognac. So I'm educating them on the category and especially what the specificity of Douce. And yeah, it's mostly like an educational role. After there's some really cool side project I do with Rock Nation, but the main purpose is to educate and deliver the message.
That is very cool. So you don't have any sales responsibilities?
Not as for now. I mean,
Not as much.
I'm working with the commercial team on the field, but
Mhm.
yeah, I'm more here like to support the sale from them than me doing an actual sale. I don't speak money.
Yeah, and a
I
lot of
speak
people do not.
product.
So you speak product, and that's okay. The passion of the brand ambassador is what supposed to convince people to bring in their product and how to use it. So that's the role, right? That's the dream. So Ansis, what is your what brand do you work for, and where are you based? So Sullivan's based here in New York, originally from Paris, and you are based in Lafayette. So tell us about
Yes,
your brand and what your
indeed.
responsibility.
Yeah, well, it's first of all, it's good to see you all, and welcome to this live episode of Celebrating the Brand Ambassador. My name is Ansis. I'm from Riga, from Latvia, born here, grew up here, and at the moment, I represent the 100% agave tequila brand Rooster Rojo. I am the
Very
ambassador
nice.
for Rooster Rojo, the global ambassador. Yes, I'm still based here in Riga, and we are doing everything from here. Trying to work the world. So far, it's just online because of all the reasons that we know. However, it's fun, new skills to acquire, and just having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, there's new skills you had to. I think everybody had to learn. It's like we found out who was good on TV and Zoom. And doing almost like performances every single week. Being able to connect with people over a computer is not an easy talent to do. So yeah, and we all learned things that I didn't know, like Instagram Live and how to do Zoom, how to do StreamYard, how to edit videos. All the things I never did before. It's like these are some new skill sets I think that everybody needs to acquire.
It is interesting.
It's
actually, it's funny that you mentioned that new skills and everything. So we are sometimes we do live cocktail masterclasses or cocktail shows, also via Zoom or Teams call. And to make it more interesting, we would kind of get together with some people from different crafts. Like, let's say there was one example, stand-up comedian, that him and we would do the cocktail show. So he would do some jokes.
Fun.
I would still do cocktails. So everyone who was at that end of the live session, they would have the specific link to join in. But also we sent out like a cocktail kit, obviously with Rooster Rojo, some tequila cocktails in it, like DIY cocktails. So they had to do it themselves at the end, but no from the bartending world. And that comedian guy would do some jokes, and then he says, and I think that during these COVID times for brand ambassadors, it's the same thing. When you do the tasting, like virtual tasting, yes, you have audience at that end of the channel, and same is for the comedian guy. So he does a joke, but he can't actually get the response.
Yeah, and that's really hard.
Usually you need to pause a little bit to let everyone clap and let everyone kind of calm down to proceed, to continue. And same is with this live tastings that you do, kind of you don't get that emotion. You don't get that feeling from the crowd. And sometimes in the crowd, when you are conducting the show, you observe people and you see these emotions, you see these reactions in their faces, and they tell you something. And then there is like one particular guy that you want to approach with your next step. You approach specifically him because you saw his reaction in his face. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and it's hard when you're doing it via Zoom. Sometimes you don't see anything and people don't respond. And sometimes people, like, we teach classes here. I'm here at the Liquor Lab studio, and sometimes people don't even have the ingredients or the specific. They're like, no, I'm just watching. You're like, okay, so I'm drinking by myself, I guess.
Yeah.
Sullivan, did you have any problem, like when you were doing, like, you spent most of your career so far in COVID times, so connecting with people. So is there anything you guys were doing?
Yeah, we've been doing like a lot of. I did like a lot of trainings. I did train some bartenders back in Africa and Ghana. I did train some like a trade, even like direct consumer. We did some Insta Live with like Fajo, with Clarken, DJ Ninth Wonder. I mean, we did like some really nice interactive experience. Like, for example, like we did like a virtual remixer. Remixer is something that we used to do on the field, that we bring a Grammy Award DJ, and we basically like draw a parallel between like the art of mixing drink and the art of mixing music. So we did some of this online, like from like September to January. We were doing like once a month. So that was a really good interaction with the guys, and like just like them sharing their knowledge, and the fact that, you know, to be able to create a new drink, it's good to have good foundation. As to be able to create a new track, you need to have good foundation when it comes to music, because you need to sample. So basically, we were doing those things. It's hard to interact and engage with people that are watching the live, because, like, you know, like on Instagram, it's a one-to-one. But yeah, I mean, like, you have to, when you have like those conversation, you need to pause to make sure people get the things together, because you're a bartender, so you go fast. Okay, you put this and that and this and that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've been like doing those kind of training to consumers. I'm like, okay, they're not like as fast, so we need to take the time to pause. And even though you don't have like a feedback, you need to learn how to make this moment of pause for them to get the things done.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes you only see a few of them on the screen, and it's like, okay, you have to like screen, or like, is everybody at the same place? Does everybody have the bottle in their hand? Does everybody have the, you know, the ingredient? But I think it's clever, you know, to have another element on there, so it's not just you, you know, as entertaining as both of you are, to also have, you know, another another element to kind of entertain the guests, so they, you know, there's something else they're getting out of it besides just drinking and learning about spirit. So I think that's really cool. I wanted to find out a little bit, because you guys both have some very interesting backgrounds before in the hospitality industry before you became brand ambassadors. So I'm going to start, Ansis, let's start with you.
Okay.
So give me a little bit of your like hospitality background, because it's very interesting. And I know coming from Latvia, there was definitely some challenges of like, you know, what you had access to. And so, you know, you definitely had to do a couple of different things to get to where you are today.
Yeah, well, it's first of all, for those of you who are not really familiar where Latvia is, it's like Northern European country. The country lies at the Baltic Sea. Across the sea, we have Sweden. So now you probably get a picture where exactly I'm from and where I'm based right now. So it's a tiny country at the Baltic Sea. It's like about 2-point-something million people in the entire country. So it's less than in Manhattan overall.
Wow. That's so tiny.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful country. It's like a proper 4 seasons country as well. This year we had like a very, very good winter, like proper winter time. But back to business. Yes, my background, it all started in 1994 when I was still in my high school. And I had a...
all right, don't go back that far.
Pardon?
I'm just busting your chops. I'm like, don't go back that far.
Right. So, but still, that's where I come from. And yeah, well, it was summer of 1994 when I had a job offer doing dishes, like basically to be a KP in one particular restaurant here in Riga, just to make some extra cash in between school in summer break. And so I said, yes, why not? And I was in the kitchen just doing all the dirty work that you can imagine, like at KP, pretty much, and working like scheduled rotation, like 4 days on, 4 days off, or something like that. Then I had to go back to school to my last grade, and I had a phone call from the same company, from the same guys, saying that, hey, we need a bar back. We are so busy that we need a bar back. So technically, I'm the first official barback in the country, because back then no one actually knew what that was.
Sullivan,
seriously, I mean
job?
it. You know, because it's a new market, and we were just out from the Soviet Union when we got our independence back as an independent country, and everything was new. Even like bartending, like our area, everything was new, and no one knew actually what it is, like how to do it properly. So when they offered me this barbacking job, and back then I was like totally in rock and roll, like long hair and everything, you know, turn apart jeans and piercings and stuff. But I wasn't able to do that because I had to be behind the bar. So I was like with a ponytail, with the black turtleneck up here, you know, like like all the polite.
You were a very well dressed barback.
Which, well, that was the rule. I had to be like that. So that taught me some things, actually. That taught me back then, what I learned from that was that it doesn't matter what you are on the street, but when you do some particular job, you have to change. And this is what you are here, right? Kind of like an actor on a stage or something like that, which is like a cliche.
Absolutely.
But that was definitely a good lesson for me. And then I was observing those two guys, those two bartenders, and they were like kind of like super skilled, but they were different. One was absolutely calm and, you know, like a swan, like going in a pond, right? The other one was like this and that, like flipping bottles around and stuff, and trying to impress people. And girls would sit at the bar like this, just watching him, and I thought to myself, like, wait a minute, that's actually like the coolest job on the planet. This is definitely what I want to do. So that is where it all started, thanks to those two guys.
Wow.
So one was literally like flair guy and super, I mean, not flair like flair, but he was flaring and flirting and stuff. The other one was like absolutely like, you know, Las Vegas Bellagio, like, you know, calm, easy, quiet, like
Salvatore Calabrese.
Calabrese or Dale DeGroff, like something like that. Yes, exactly. But like very young back then. So those.
I'm gonna pause you 1 second. Because I wanted to ask Sullivan, what was your first job in the industry?
My first job in the industry, I was a waiter in a restaurant in Paris. So I dropped, like, I was at university studying engineering, and then when I discovered that I was about to spend my whole life like behind a computer, I decided that wasn't the direction I wanted to take. Even though last year COVID got me to work that much behind the computer, but we have to adapt, right? But by chance, I mean, like, I've always been like happy to connect with people and willing to learn more from like my other people. So I decided to drop uni and to turn myself into the hospitalities. But still, I had like a big expectations. I didn't really want to work as a random restaurant. So I entered like a catering management school. So I did like 3 years there, got a bachelor. But like through my 3 years of master, the bachelor, I was working in a restaurant on the side. So that's where I learned. I remember like the very first day, the manager that got me into the field was like, okay, listen, this is like, the floor was like timber. I was like, okay, this is a timber. We're artists. We are here to deliver a prestation and to deliver like an act to the people that comes in to have dinner. So be the act. And so have fun on this floor because this is yours. So that's the very, very first advice I had in this job. They were like, okay, this is your theme. Enjoy and deliver the magic. And
wow, this is
in a restaurant.
This is your stage, and that's actually a pretty good lesson to give somebody. And Ansis, I know you actually got some great lessons. There was a woman, I couldn't believe this actually, because not saying this because it was like so unbelievable, but you were actually taught. You learned a lot about bartending from a woman, and this is in the 1990s, leading like a bar school, correct? Who taught you all the, because as you said, you were coming from post-communist where you didn't have much products behind a bar, you didn't have any books because a big thing is having books translated right into your language. So learning about cocktails, and there was no Google, right?
Yeah, there was no Google back then. Yes, it was end of 90s, something like like 1998, 99, something like that. When I got properly into a bar school and had all the lessons and everything that I knew at the beginning was from our own here Bartenders Association, which was run by this one lady back then. Her name is Svetlana. So she taught me pretty much all the basics that I should know back then, and that opened the door to the world of bartending and everything that kind of which direction you have to go to learn these things and that things and as you mentioned, yes, there was no books as well. Few of them were translated. We had one cocktail book which was literally translated with all these what I say boring classics back then, but it was boring then. Now I realize actually that these classics are the base of everything, and this is exactly what we had to learn. But back then it was boring. Same as like when you are 22 years of age, you definitely don't understand how can someone actually drink gin and tonic. Jack and Coke, that's exactly what you need, right? Or a shot of tequila. But gin and tonic, Campari soda, oh, wait a minute, come on. Now, when I'm like into 40s, I really understand actually that this is the drink. You know what I mean?
I love the fact a lot of your drinks were based around orange juice. It was like a Harvey Wallbanger and like screwdrivers. And I remember those were the drinks back then. God, I hate orange juice. So like those were never my jam.
Well, orange juice and screwdriver for me, that was still actually in high school when we first got drunk with our mates. It was vodka orange. And since then, actually, even if it's plain orange juice, it tastes to me a little bit like with a shot of Stoli in it.
Yeah, I think we all have those experiences. But you also went over to London, right? And bartended there for quite a few years.
Nearly 5 years in London. I was working in Covent Garden for the company called Maxwell's Group, and so I was managing the bar there of Navajo Joe, which was a tequila bar, and we had a quite a big collection of tequilas. It was about 180 different bottles of tequilas and mezcals together. So yeah, it was good number of shelves to jump around and just to try all of them, and which I did.
Is that where your love of tequila came from?
Well, actually, no. It came a little bit earlier, but that was absolutely the perfect background for me, like the right battlefield. Again, I'm talking army, but
yeah.
That's yeah.
Dude, you do like your army references. I like it. I guess there is.
Thank God I'm getting camouflage.
Yeah, exactly. Thank goodness for this. And then Sullivan, you also come from an interesting, like you said, you started off as a waiter, and then you moved on to there to owning your own bars. I don't know if there was stops in between.
Oh, there was many stops in between. As a waiter, it's funny because we share something, Ansis. So as a waiter, I moved to London to work on my English when I was like 19, 20. And I became like head waiter of a fine dining restaurant in the city. And this bar had a really great cocktail program. So that was the first time that I really like kind of like witnessed cocktails. But the thing is like I witnessed it like from like a high standard point of view already. They were like just like doing like Simon Default cocktail. So back in those days, like like when those Default book were coming out, they were like amazing cocktails. And that was like back 2010. So there's a couple of years after you were
quite a few later.
And the thing is like, so when I went back to France, I had like this idea, okay, I started in the hospitality. As a waiter, I became like floor manager of fine dining. So I felt that I had like reached my top at this moment. So I was like, okay, I need to learn something else. I knew that I had some creativity in me, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna go in the kitchen because I love to cook. And the thing is that having those like 3 years on the floor with the interaction with the customer, I was like, yeah, no, actually, I need to stay on the floor. And bartending for me was the right in between exchanging with the customers and using my creativity. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do as bartenders, And so I went back to France and I started bartending again. So from like being a floor manager, I became like to the bar back. And the very first person who gave me my chance in a bar was Sandrine Oudrey-Grégoire, which basically was the first lady at a I would say like head bartender position. I want to say in France. I would say in
Wow.
Paris for sure, but I want to say
So
in France because
both your
like
careers
I,
were started by women.
yeah,
Wow.
Sandrine Grégoire.
My
If you
goodness.
watch, if you look at me, Sandrine, thank you forever. And so yeah, so I started bartending, and because I was like studying like a kind of like high fine dining standards, I started as a bartender in in hotel bars. I was like and a couple of years before I started bartending in hotel bars, there was like the experimental cocktail club in 2007 that opened, and they were the one who brought the street cocktail culture in France.
Oh, really?
And so yeah, so after like doing like a year in hotel bars, I found out that I could be actually like working behind a bar without having to wear a uniform and being myself, don't have to shave, can grow my hair. And that's what happened like with working at experimental, because they're like, okay, we're gonna make a Zopas cocktail. You have to look elegant, but look yourself. And that's how I started like really like getting into like the whole concept of bartending and understanding like the global picture of it. Because when I started, I was just like, yeah, I want to learn how to make cocktail because I want to open a bar one day, and so I need to learn that. And yeah, so I've been working like I've been lucky, I would say, or fortunate to be at the right place at the right moment. I do feel that, or maybe it's because I just like took this opportunity to make it the best out of it. But I feel like I have a good star above me, and so like after
Oh, Sullivan, I was gonna
experimental,
say it's a combination probably of the both, because a lot of people are at the right time at the right moment, but if you're not open to opportunities because you're not prepared in life to take that next jump, it can pass
mhm,
you by. You know, it
totally
is a
agree.
lot about being ready. Like you need to, like, the opportunity is there, but you're like still like not organized, or you're not in a place in your life that you can accept that opportunity, then it can just go. So you probably had a little bit of combination of both.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I had a big vision. I was like, I want to do good in the industry I want to work in, and so yeah, so I forced the opportunities. And the funny thing is like before, when I was in London, that's when I discovered cognac. So I had to be in London in another country to discover cognac. I was working in this restaurant as I was telling you earlier, and it was part of a group. So I had a dinner in one of the restaurants of the group, which is called Pont Latour, and the head bartender was Camille, a good friend of mine. And at the end of the dinner, he gave me like this massive Napoleon of cognac. It was like a really expensive cognac. I think I had something like 700 to 900 pounds of cognac in my glass at this time. But he was a head bartender, you know, he could make his way out
Wow.
of it. And so the thing is, I had so much in my glass that I could actually taste it. Because you know, like when you go like 1 ounce or 2 ounces, like you just like sip it, but you don't. I could like take big sip of it, and so I had like so much like perfume everywhere in my mouth, flavors, aromas, and I often refer to Ratatouille when he's eating like this piece of cheese and he got like fireworks in his mouth. That's exactly what happened. And basically at this time I was like 20, and cognac is the first spirit that I learned to appreciate. And then after I became bartender, and so I learned and I opened my I would say like my
So you guys both have that in common, though, like the fact that you both like fell in love with your spirit that you're now working on in London. How funny is that? You're both from different countries, you know, and you both went to London and you discovered. And granted, back then, especially, you know, I don't know what it was like in 1998, but I know by 2005, 2000, London was kicking America's ass when it came to everybody's ass when it came to cocktails, and the cocktail scene. So if there's any place you're going to start your career, that is definitely an incredible place to start it. And the fact you're able to then take that knowledge back to your own countries and utilize it is really incredible. And I want to talk about your your category knowledge, because you know, becoming as a brand ambassador, obviously you need to become, you know, experts in your category, right? And it might not happen all at once, but obviously you also have to have a love for that category itself. And so I want to talk about like some of the best practices of, and I'm going to make sure I read this correctly. Some of the best practices of the companies that you've worked for or are working with that has helped you deepen your knowledge, because, you know, what are some of the trainings that you have received, not just in the company you are now, but maybe in the past? And what are also some of the things you're doing for yourself, you know, to help you get better at what you're doing as a craft and as a brand ambassador? Ansis, I will start with you. How did you? I know you have some great stories from when you started at William Grant's and some of the things you're doing now.
Yeah, shall I also mention these William Grant stories, or is it just?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah, well, it's they're great. They're great stories, and there's there's no regrets, and everything's so cool. And I'm so actually thankful for everything I know and everything I learned from these guys, especially all the global ambassadors that were looking after us back then. So and master distillers who worked with particular brands that's within the portfolio of William Grant's. And by the way, actually, I want to jump off from the topic for a second with Sullivan. Yeah. Does the name Tim Ward rings a bell?
Tim Ward from Loki?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a brother. He's a brother back.
So exactly, yeah, that's what I was thinking about, because we met, you and I. We met.
You and I
in Syndicate in Paris.
Oh wow!
Yes,
wow.
I was actually I was looking at this face and I was like, kind of, God, I definitely have seen this person. We were out with the Team Monkey, and I'd say maybe 5-6 years ago, with all the ambassadors. Dean Callan was the global ambassador back then.
Yeah,
and
wow.
From Canada, Tim Ward from France, myself from here, Grant Neath from UK. So, and we actually,
like when you were doing like the boot camp.
Exactly. Yeah, like 50 kilometers away from outside Paris, and then from there we came to Paris for a few days, and we went to see you in your bar. Is that correct?
Wow. Yeah, that's like you describe it, so I guess it's true.
what is small?
You can't tell me like you've been to Syndica and all of this, like without this being true. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I get it.
Yes,
wow.
Yes, and
you
to
re-meet you.
Running your ass off like so crazy and busy behind the bar back then. I remember that.
Yeah, we were like really busy back then.
This is the world of being a brand ambassador. That's why it's such an incredible job, right? You travel around the world and you get to meet some amazing people. What a great memory. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was looking at this face and was like, kind of, there's definitely I have. So and I then I was
he's hard to forget.
And yes, that's exactly what it is. So sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, so getting back, just wanted to, so it's about sharing best practices. So it's more about like, every brand has training programs and how they introduce people to spirit. So maybe sharing some of the stories of like some of the best practices from that you took from William Grant's. Like if everybody could do this, like I would recommend they do these things. These are the things they did with me and they really made an impact on me. These are the things I'm doing now. Like, and these are the things I've done for myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. So shall I start? Yeah, or Sullivan wants to go
go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got the mic.
It's the best practice is definitely one thing that what I say is if the company can offer you some training program, that's great. And if the training program actually is from where it all happens, I mean, the country or the place where you produce that particular product that you work for. In my case, it was Scotch whiskey. Now it's tequila. And if you have a chance to go there and experience it yourself, not just from PowerPoint presentations or from some calls or like, some just like print off papers, that is definitely much better. If you can contact your master distiller or your master blender at any stage when you need any question, when there's any question that you have to ask, and if you have a direct kind of email to contact the guy or the person anyway. So
tell us why that works. Tell us you have a great case of like how you've utilized that connection for yourself.
Yeah, I did. That was still when I was still with William Grant's, and that was I was doing the Glenfiddich presentation and Glenfiddich tasting to the group of people, and there was this one smartass in the room, which was like I mean, he wasn't like kind of sitting like this and like I'm not interested, but he would throw in these kind of comments for once in a while that made him kind of look smart in the room. That he wanted to show that he's the smartest in the room.
Oh yeah,
with all the people who are in the audience, right? So just show off.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. It's great, and still.
No, it's not.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And then And then what I would say to him is like, thanks for coming, or whatever your reaction was, you know. And then he asked me one question, which was a tricky question and not really related to that particular
of course
topic.
Not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but still within whiskey category, but not really related to what actually I was going through back then. And I said, well, I can't give you that answer, my friend, right now, but I definitely can contact Brian Kinsman, who is our malt master, and he definitely must know. So if you allow me just 1 minute, I'll just jump on my email and I'll send him an email. And that was within working hours. You know, it wasn't like crazy, like evening tasting. It was daytime. So there's two hours time difference in between Riga and Scotland. So they're 2 hours behind. So now in Riga, it's 11 p.m. In Scotland, it's 9. So it was actually benefit for me. That would kind of mean that Brian is still on duty. So I sent him an email just saying like, I'm like emergency, blah, 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 blah. And while I was still doing my masterclass, the email came back from him saying, here's an answer. And actually he sent me like an attachment as well as a document. Here it is, and you can everything's explained here. So I just connected that thing to the screen and I showed it to everyone. Like, you wanted to know, here you go, bam. And he was like, sorry, that's amazing. So within an hour, you actually get an answer. So if there is anything that you can get something like that, that is definitely a must-have thing. That would be a best practice, and use it as much as you can. That would be my.
I think that's fantastic, and I definitely agree that you need to go to the brand home. You need to experience it, because then you can talk about the brand with passion and have your own stories. Like, while I was there, and while I was in the mill, and while I was doing this, and I saw this, and I met Betsy, and she does, you know, she whatever it is, and it gives you a more authenticity when you're able to tell a story. Being able to connect with the distiller like on an instant. I've heard Dave Mitten talk about this from Lot 40, and he had the same thing, a wise ass in the audience asking him questions, and he was like, I don't know that. Let me just, you know, check, and, you know, getting texts back and forth, and was able to answer the question. So Sullivan, do you have and I want to talk about your experience in tequila as well. I just want to get from Sullivan, for you, like, where have you been to the brand home yet?
Yeah, I've been to the brand home like many times already. I mean, like within the 2 years, I would say I'm over probably like 6-7 times. But I would say like the thing is, like, for me was like kind of easier to jump into the role of a brand ambassador for cognac, because so for the one who don't know, so I opened a bar called Le Syndicat in Paris, which is the very first cocktail bar using only French alcohol. And this relates to the very first time I was in London and I enjoyed cognac. So from this moment, I thought I fell in love with cognac. I just made sure that through my bartender career to always have a cognac cocktail on the menu, because I found that it was like a lack in many bars back in then. Now we can see like more often a cognac cocktail out of the sidecar that is not that classic, but so I always made sure to have like a cognac cocktail, and then I opened the Syndicat. And so because I opened Syndicat using only French alcohol, I was like, okay, I'm coming with a strong concept. I need to know what I'm talking about. So the cool thing about using like local ingredients is that I could easily take my car, go with my bartenders, go with my waitress, go with my partners to visit those producers. So I did personally visit, like, I would say at least 70% of the alcohol producers that are in the bar at the Syndicat. So, which is cool because you bring a story. So if this brand is in my back bar, it's because of this and that and that, you know. And so I did focus a lot in Cognac, Calvados, Armagnac. And then I got like certified from the BNIC, which is the office that rules the whole Cognac category, as a Cognac educator. But this was when I was like bar owner. So I had to dig deep into Cognac because I wanted to deliver the message to my consumer, because like the whole mission of Syndicat is to change the mentalities and the perception of people, like when it comes to Cognac, to all the other French spirits that are like known forever but are not used at all. And so before joining Dulce, I was already like well versed on Cognac. So I had, like, for me, it was more important actually to be to the brand home, to speak with Michel Casavecchia, the cellar master, and to know all the intrinsic of Dulce, because I knew already about Cognac. So if I had to learn the whole thing about Cognac and then Dulce, that would have been like a lot to digest. today I feel good in my shoes because I have like this cognac knowledge and then the juice knowledge that I can blend together.
No, I think which is fantastic to have those building blocks to start from, and you know, which is it really does help you to have that base knowledge. Like I tell everybody now, at least if you can understand, you know, I recommend definitely taking the WSET because their spirits program is really ramped up, and if you can at least understand distilling and fermentation and like how all spirits are made, it gives you such a great starting place, even if it's not the category specific, but just understanding that, because if you have to start from zero and not even understanding distillation or ferment, that's a whole nother level of knowledge that you have to build upon, which is a lot. It's so much to learn. And Ansis, you like tequila, you learned about it, you knew about it already, as you said, but then working in a tequila bar definitely kind of helped enhance your knowledge of the category and your love of it. So where did you like really dive deep into tequila?
Is it when or where?
I guess how did you do it? Like, how did you up your knowledge? Like, what are some of the things you've done to really understand tequila at a different level?
Okay, it's well, when I was in London in this Navajo Joe bar times, I met one Mexican guy who is a great friend of mine. So we're still connected and we still keep in touch. His name is Rodrigo. Obviously, he's Mexican. And there was one day when I just asked him, when was the last time you saw your mother? And he was like, oh, I can't remember, maybe 8 or something a month ago. I said, maybe we shall go. You know, you just take me on a trip. So we just jump on a plane and we just go to Mexico. I said, that's a good idea. So him and myself and my wife, we just went for a trip to Mexico. And that was my first time in Mexico. And obviously we went to Tequila Town and we spent there like a few days around. And that was the first time when I saw a live tequila distillery, a real tequila distillery. And we saw a few. We visited a few. Well, kind of the same as, you know, within one category, there's no much of difference. But some approach, you know, and this was when I realized that many distilleries are not producing just one type of like brand that we know, as it is in Scotch whiskey. Let's say if it's Glenfiddich, they just make Glenfiddich. So over there can be a name of distillery, but under one roof, you actually produce many brands. Same as for now, the company I work for right now, Fábrica de Tequilas Finos, right? It's a name of distillery, but within the distillery, we make Rooster Rojo, we make Cenote, there is AC/DC, Thunderstruck Tequila, and many which are just for domestic markets, so they just remain in Mexico. So, and that was the first thing that I would learn there, and since then, I thought that's it. This is something I really, really would like to learn. And then I got into one competition in London, and they flew me out to Mexico again to learn it properly. As what is it like from the soil up to the clay bottles and stuff like that. So that gave me also another additional kind of education on this. And now, since I work for Rooster Rojo, obviously I went back again to the same tequila town where our distillery lies as well, on the very boundaries of the town. And again, together with the master distiller, Arturo Fuentes, who is in the craft for about 40 years already, like in tequila. And by the way, he actually worked for one cognac company at the early times.
Oh, really?
I can't tell you which one was it.
The same world.
Yeah, so
regulated. Wow, this is the same world.
Yeah, and so he would give me lessons. Plus, you read some literature about tequila, also about Mexican history as well, some Mexican culture books, something like that. That not books or articles, whatever. That's all together, because I prefer when you go out and you talk about the brand that you represent, even if it's tequila now or that was whiskey back then. You don't talk that much about that particular thing, but you give them your audience, you give that kind of information about overall picture of what country does it come from. So what do people do? What do people eat? Some jokes from their like local countries or something like that, you know, and people like that. It's not just kind of, you know, that you can actually find on internet or put on a PowerPoint and on your back, you know, just, you know, facts. I believe it's better than you dress up this topic in a fancy dress, and offer them something that they would not even expect to hear from you at the moment. But they're like, oh yeah, that's cool, actually. I did not know that. I did not realize that. And then probably they would go online and they would try to search up for something, and that name will pop up again, and they will remember you as the guy who delivered that kind of messages and that information. So that's the way I prefer to work. And
yeah, no, I think that is a fantastic way to work, because I was talking to Danielle Jones, who, if you ever met him, he's the Angostura global brand ambassador. He's he's amazing. And also Ian Burrell is also another. He's amazing. They're storytellers. They tell incredible stories, and they just. You know, as Ian said to me, he said, Elaine, I don't believe in just like being nerdy and like rum facts and talking about distillation and, you know, temperatures and yeast. He's like, I just tell stories. I get them so wrapped up in like the category and why they should love rum, and then whatever rums I'm representing, that, you know, they're just so intrigued that they just want to love whatever I'm loving because I seem so into it. Like, you know, and I think that's a big thing. And a lot of brand ambassadors, it's a good lesson, because they get so nervous that they have to know so many facts, because they're like new, they might be new, and they learn that most of the time you don't have to give half the facts, you just have to give a few. And it's more about your passion and how you feel about it. That will come across more.
And another additional thing that I'd like to add here is it's, if you can put it like in a comparison, if you are there and if you push towards about this, then there would definitely be a reaction that now kind of, you know, no, if you're trying to push. But if you kind of offer on a very kind of friendly basis and very innocent kind of, just here I am, just take it if you want, but I'm not pushing.
Right.
And I can give you an example. If there is a person who doesn't like any type of particular music, whatever it is, and if you try to make him to listen to this particular music every single day, he would definitely like put a wall, and he would never talk to you, because he's had enough, right? Like, no, listen to this song. No, listen to this song. Listen to the song, you know. And he says no. But if you appear in front of him like every second day wearing the same kind of Guns N' Roses t-shirt or something like that, at the end of the day, he will just force himself to kind of, oh, listen, but what is that you're wearing? Can I try or something like that?
Yeah, that's a really good example.
That is a great example.
Yeah. If you push, they will go away. But if you just flash it around,
be organic.
Yes, exactly.
It does have to be organic. I mean, for you guys, I we're going to lead it. It leads into the question I had for you, because you're both working, you know, a little bit differently. Obviously, you know, working in the Baltics and in Europe on tequila, I know is not easy, because a lot of people don't drink tequila, and it's not as popular of a category. And so
you gotta come to the US. It's highly popular here.
Yeah,
everybody drinks tequila here.
Everybody drinks tequila. It must be frustrating here. But the same thing for you, Sullivan, where it's like, you know, you are working for a cognac brand, and people have different perceptions of cognac, you know, and like where they're utilizing it. So I would love to hear, you know, a little bit about what are some of the challenges for you working, especially in America, about the people's perception of cognac and how they're drinking cognac, and, you know, how are you organically trying to get them to accept it in a different way and to learn about it?
That is funny, because, you know, like, even though like I opened this, so the reason, just to go back to the Syndica, because it's important, is that when I opened Syndica, I learned from the cognac region that 98% of the cognac is exported. So we don't drink our own spirits, right? And why we don't do that? Because we have like this kind of like mindset that is like an ancestral alcohol that our grandparents used to drink, and it's a digestive. That's the only way you drink cognac. So it's one way to drink cognac, but there's like so many different ways. So, and then I moved to the US. So I opened Syndica and just like wanted to bring back those like dusty bottles on the front line by making cocktail with it, because like this is how people drink today. And it's funny because like people are still surprised of like using cognac in cocktails, but like when you look into like the very first cocktails that was creating like 1850s, they were made with brandy. At this time when they were calling brandy, they were like mostly calling for cognac. Yeah. And the thing is that cognac has been like a main actor in the cocktail culture. And like, so I did that in France to bring back those memories, and then move to the US. And like cognac is completely different. It's like a kind of like nightclub lifestyle product. So they have their way of drinking it here with like cognac and mixers. And so I do believe like one of my mission is to bring Dulce inside the cocktail bars. Because already like performing in like nightclubs and like lifestyle places, but like I think like something that is interesting is just like to keep on like promoting and supporting those accounts, but also to bring into cocktails. And the thing is that because of my background as a bartender slash bar owner slash like pushing brandies in the cocktails, I think I have like some good assets to go and speak with bar owners like mixology accounts. And yeah, I mean there's many things to do with Dulce, with cognac, and I think yeah, it's important to
What do you think is the big pushback? What do you think is it for most people to use it in a cocktail?
a lack of knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
I feel
Is
like
it not price?
no, like of course. I mean, like there's a lack of knowledge because, like, as I said, like in America, it's like really like a Afro-American kind of like spirit for. So there's this kind of like the whole world of cognac is like in America. There's like the black community that is like supporting cognac because back in the days when the like World War II, the black soldier were kind of like based in the southeast of France, so they drank cognac, so they brought cognac back in the country.
Really?
So that was like a synonym of like luxury and premium. And so that's
I
the
did not know
reason
that.
why. Yeah, that's like we surprised when we see cognac in like hip hop and all of this, but it comes from that because this is synonym of success and so that's how cognac is perceived here. So there's like this mentality to change. I mean, like not to change because like this is seen as a premium product, and it is a premium product. And so now the other thing is like it's always the most expensive spirit that you have in your well as a bartender. But the whole thing is that once you understand the whole process on how to make cognac, you understand the price point. So yeah, for sure, it's always like cheaper to use a tequila, vodka or some like gin or anything that's like grain spirits because it's like more accessible. Cognac and tequila as well like needs a lot of local ingredients and that justify the price. And like when you say like I mean, like tequila, it's not my world, but like in terms of like Blanco, Reposado, Añejo, we still kind of like below like 3 years, between 3 to 5 years, let's say, like for like an Añejo. While a cognac, when you go like for like Dulce VSOP, the youngest olive inside the blend has been a minimum of 4 years. So you have like you sitting on product. So this is like some money that's like that doesn't move for like at least 4 years. So there's like a lot of reason why the price is not like it's a premium product and we sell it high. It's like the whole process from the grapes to the bottle. It's really like intense and yeah, at the end of the day, it is expensive to make cognac. But I mean, like I would say, like it's not that expensive when you play with the product and you can have a high-end cocktail.
No, of course you can. But it's also, I think it's also the lack of knowledge because there isn't as many people making cognac cocktails out there. So people don't know how to mix it. There's not as many classics to make twist off of. So it's like, where do we go from there? So I think it's going to take, you have to create an entire new category of just classics, just with, I know there's more than the sidecar, but yeah, some more of the, and teaching, doing, you should do, I would go to it, a cocktail academy by you on just on cognac cocktails and teaching people how to mix. And Ansis,
that is my mission. That's why I'm here. That is my
mission.
Like
it. It would be fantastic. And getting tequila in Europe, I know is not easy to do. And I know you've done some things. What is the biggest challenge for you, like getting people to drink tequila? What is their perception of tequila?
Yeah, well, if I mean, also in US, that is the way easier rather than here in Europe. Specifically in Baltic area where people like tequila is very, very kind of new for them, right? And the biggest challenge is to convince them that your memories from tequila are very, very wrong. These memories, and I can tell you why you have these memories. And I always go like this, and that is a challenge because I really try to make people listen to me, trying to convince them that I know where do your memories come from, your bad memories about tequila. And I always go like this. Okay, let me tell you, like, where do you have this like bad memory from? It was Friday or Saturday, most likely Friday, when you and your friends decided to get together. So you met in a pub for a pint, one or two. Then after that, you probably had like a burger or a kebab or something, like not a super fancy food, right? Over there also was a pint of beer or some lager or some cider or whatever. Then after that, you left for a cocktail bar. You had a few kind of like, Manhattans or whatever cocktails. From there, it went to a late night bar where you probably met some girls, and there were like some skinny bitches going on, or Cuba Libres or something like that. Then after that, you moved to a nightclub for some Jaeger shots. God knows what else did you do in the toilets or outside, like, And then at 4 a.m. in the morning, just 1 hour
You
before
bring the tequila.
one smartass appears like with a line of tequila. Guys, let's have a shot, right? And then you go to bed, and early in the morning when you wake up, or not early in the morning, but when you wake up next day, you have a massive headache. You can barely open your eyes, and the first thing that you remember is this goddamn tequila shot. And why do you blame tequila? Why you do not blame the rest of the evening that actually was done before? Right? All the sambucas and like, I don't know, whatever it was. No, that's fine. Just tequila is the one to take the blame. No, it's incorrect. So, and please let me allow you to change the perception of that. So that
This is not true.
It's so true. It is so true. We've all been there. Like, should we have? Yeah, shot. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. There's this one stand-up comedian who does this kind of like basically your stomach is a bouncer.
Yeah.
You've not seen it?
I saw that one. I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So and
Exactly.
there's like this and that coming in, and there's your stomach is a nightclub. Yeah. So and then there's a bouncer kind of waiting and letting people in, but people are like different drinks. So it starts with the beer, and then he goes different accents. If it's Heineken, then he does a Dutch accent. Yeah. When it's Sambuca, he does Italian accent. So this is that, and then there's like cheeky Mexican, sneaky kind of trying to get in, like, and there's always 13 another, and they just like try to sneak in, and then the bouncer says, "That's enough, everybody out." And
everybody throws up. That's so.
That's a good case.
But we only condone responsible drinking on the show. Just responsible drinking, just for anybody watching. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, all right. So no, these are great stories. All right, guys. I know we're getting out to about an hour here, but I did want to talk about was a little bit, because I think something I would love to hear you share, and I obviously know your stories, but I think it'd be interesting for other people to share, is why you decided to make a move to become a brand ambassador. Like Sullivan, you went from being a bar owner to becoming a brand ambassador, and moved countries, right? You changed countries, you changed careers, and since you worked for William Grant, and then you changed after, and I know you loved it, and then you changed to a tequila company, and those can be risky. Some people don't have the, I'd say, balls to make those big moves, but it's no other way to say it. So. Sullivan, for you, what appealed to you about being a brand ambassador?
Well, so I put myself in a when I opened Syndica, my first purpose was to educate people on French alcohol because of my love of cognac, and this is something that my love of cognac started before being ambassador, so that's a 10 years loop basically, and so As a bartender, I started as a bartender. I was like, okay, I have a vision. I want to open my own bar. So I met after a few years of bartending, and I met Romain, and we decided to open a bar together. It was the Syndica. Then we opened La Commune. So I was like, okay, out of my dream, I wanted to open one bar, and I opened two. And then this offer came, and I was like, okay, maybe I've done what I wanted to do, and I'm curious about learning new things. The cool thing was I've never really considered about being a brand ambassador, but the cool thing is I've been bar owner, I've been bartender, so I know what you like in brand ambassadors and what you don't like in brand ambassadors. So I thought this was already a strength to have, because I've been on the field and I know how to interact and engage with people. And then I got the offer of representing the category that I love, moving to the US, a country that I don't know. and being global. So this would like lead me to travel and discover the world and keep on educating on the product I love. I mean, like there was nothing that was holding me back in France. It's like I felt that I did what I had to do in France, and I was ready to move on. And so I moved on, got married with my wife, got a baby, started a new job. The whole thing is new. It's a new chapter. So I didn't really feel pressure or challenges to embrace this new position. I just like it's all about like taking it in. So I'm loving it. For me,
But
it's like
okay, for
it
anybody
makes a
else
lot
who is
of sense.
considering it, no, those are all great points, and I love the fact that you know yourself so well, and your life. You're so self-aware of like what you've done and what you achieved and where you can go, which is always a very impressive quality. And it's something that I think it becomes with age. As we get older, hopefully we can all be, you get more self-aware and you understand what you're capable of and what you've achieved in your life, which is a great place to be. And says a lot about you as a person. But also, for somebody else who might be considering making that drastic career change, you wouldn't just go to any company, would you? Did you choose like you were like, or any role? Like you didn't just be like, I want to be a brand ambassador. This was something that really.
No. So I will remember like this is a Bacardi love affair. So as a bartender back in the days, I was like, you always want to have like niche products. You don't work with the big companies. I mean, like back in the days, that was the mindset you have as a bartender. So I wasn't working with big companies, and then I got invited by Bacardi to taste of the cocktail, stopping by New York. So that was my first time I went to New York, was thanks to Bacardi. So I had like 3 amazing days in New York with Julian Lafont, that used to be like the Grey Goose ambassador. And so after we went for a week in Tales, so we did all the activations. So I was like still like kind of, that was my second time in Tales. So I was still learning about New Orleans. My second time in New Orleans as well. So everything was kind of new. And I could see like all the activations, programs, people were having like an amazing time. And there's one specific night we had this founders dinner where all the Bacardi, the brand ambassadors of Bacardi that are in town with their guests come together in one venue, that we all have a dinner together. And I see like everybody's having a good time. All the brand ambassadors loving, hugging each other. That was pre-COVID, so we could hug people. And yeah, we used to do that.
I remember. I miss hugging.
And the thing is like, and I looked at Julian. So at this time I had like only Le Syndicat. And I looked at Julian and I was like, I've never considered being a brand ambassador. But if I do, seeing all of you like having these good times, these good, creating like good souvenirs and experiences, and like if I do one day, it'll be for Bacardi. And so I think this like dropped in his mind. And so 2 years later, Dulce was opening the position for the first global brand ambassador. And it was like, I think you'll be the right fit for this position. And so that's how we started the discussion. But yeah, I wouldn't have done like a brand ambassador for any company. Bacardi is because I felt there was a company that was fitting me, and to say like this is a product and category that completely fits me. So it was just I wouldn't have left what I had in Paris to be I don't know, like a sake ambassador in Mexico. It wasn't like into like being brand ambassador. It was being represented as something that is true to me.
Yeah, no, I think that is very wise and a good career choice, and you did a lot of research before that. You got to go something at a place in a company. It's got to be the right fit. And also, I know for you there was a big change going from one company to another. So why did you make the leap?
Yeah, I was, as you mentioned, I was together with one company for 8 years, and just covering Baltics. So I was responsible for 3 Baltic markets, which is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, the country where you are from originally.
One of my ancestors.
Yeah. So that was covering all of the portfolio of WGS products, which was Tullamore Dew, Hendrick's Gin, Glenfiddich, Balvenie, Single Malt, Monkey Shoulder, Grants as well, a blended Scotch. So I was doing all of this, which was fun and basically kept me really busy. But obviously time went by, and my wings grew, and I wanted to get a little bit more and more. And the company kind of could not offer me, something more. so you just remain here in Baltics, but I wanted to kind of like spread my wings a little bit. And then came this offer. And as I mentioned yesterday as well, it really kind of made me feel super, super kind of sad, and not like kind of broke my heart, but I had some heartache about leaving this wonderful people and everything that we kind of experienced together. Same going to Syndicate as well that one crazy night. And so yeah, I decided to make a change. Just 8 years in one spot anyway, so you have to make a change. And if you can't make a change within the same company, just stepping up or getting some different position, then probably you have to change the position in total. So overall, and yeah, the offer came in. I made a decision, which wasn't actually over one night. It was like about 7 months of decision to make, which I was thinking through. And basically connecting all the dots, finally, I decided for myself, yes, this is something I want to do. This is super challenging. It's a new brand as well, which did not exist until 4 years from now. So basically, yeah, it's going to be 4 years this August since the brand was launched in general. So wow. And that was additional challenge. So new brand, what can I do? What I'm capable of? And also, if it's tequila, it's 100% agave tequila. It's even better. And it is not super premium tequila. So it also kind of gives me an opportunity to remain myself, as I kind of, when I am in front of the audience, I can be myself. I don't have to be, this smart, which I like, wearing a suit. But I really like it, but not on a daily basis when I have to do my work. So, which was fun, and it still remains within the cocktail industry, where I'm from. So I still have a chance to be behind the bar and making cocktails, doing guest shifts. Travel, obviously, is one of the things that I love a lot. And you travel the world, you get to meet people, you get to see people. That definitely is a benefit that I have to mention. Yeah, and
that all makes sense. And the reason, and it being hard for you to leave, it is hard. I mean, I was with Diageo. I worked for the agency that worked with Diageo for over 15 years. So I was their brand ambassador and mixologist for 10. And when I had to leave and I was making the decision, I got an offer from Anheuser-Busch, and I had definitely hit my career peak. And I had changed roles within the company multiple times. And I had hit a place where I just couldn't go anywhere. And I tried. I pitched ideas like, I want to do this, we could create this. And I just couldn't get a foothold. And so I was getting frustrated. And Anheuser-Busch offered me a job, and it was a huge job. And I was like, out of my depth. I was like, but sure, if you're willing, it's a great job. But it was really hard. It was so different. It was back in corporate. I was back in the office, completely different role of working as a global manager and working in beer. And I cried. Like my last day at Diageo was Tails. It was like Tails 2014. I was like, my Sunday was like my last day. I was able to use my expense account.
Oh, wow.
And head off. And I started bawling at the table. I was like crying at the table because it's hard. It's like you get an emotional attachment to the company and the people you're with. So, there's definitely, I mean, it was the best thing I ever did because it expanded my world. I had to learn different skill sets and a new position. I made a lot of even more money. It was a bigger pay rise, and now it's like I'm now working for myself now because after working for the two biggest companies in the world, I said, well, if I can do that, I can work for anybody. So I might as well work for myself. So it gave me the balls or the courage to do what I'm doing now, which is. I'm very grateful for. So it might, one day you might look like, maybe that wasn't, but I think it's always the right move. You make a change, you're learning something new, wherever it takes you, you're always going to take something away from it. So I think it's always can be a good thing to do if you hit your ceiling in a company. So guys, I know I've had you guys here for a long time because we've had our technical difficulties. So thank you again for your patience. This has been fantastic. I do want to wrap up. If I can ask one more question, if you guys are good. Can I ask one more question? Okay. Well, because the one thing I wanted to ask, Sullivan, we started talking about this yesterday, is what skill sets have you now had to acquire now that you've become a brand ambassador? Like, what was something you didn't have before, and now that you have had to learn how to do, and it's made you better, like overall?
I would say organization is one of the main because I've always been like a freestyler and like doing the things as I feel. And so when I was bartender, since I was like still doing my job well, I didn't have any issue with like the above. Then I became my own boss. So I had like the relation with my partner that was like asking like for results and all of this, but still I was like enjoying my freestyling style, I would say. Then now working for a big company like Bacardi, we need to do reports. We need to, I mean, like they need to know what's happening on the field and all of this. So I have to do my weekly report on Mondays. It's still Wednesdays that I haven't done it because
Yeah.
I'm learning how to be organized. But
Is there
yeah,
any
I
new
mean, like
tricks you've learned to be organized? Is there anything you've learned for yourself? Feel like that you do?
forcing myself off a day of admin. But even though these days sometimes can just get cancelled. It's like Monday is my day of admin, but I was like the whole week in Atlanta last week. I came back like Sunday Eve. I took kind of the Monday like more, you know, as I
Relax.
wanted to chill a bit. And the cool thing is like still like working with Juice is like I have a really nice freedom. They're not really on my back. So I do things because I mean like because I have to and just to get all the information in the database. But still, they're not really like crazy. I mean like they understand who I am. They teach me how to organize myself because it's a need. But still, they don't work hard to change me. So
Right.
that's why I love with these companies because they take me as I am. They give me all the tips I need to improve myself, but they're not like like busting my ass, like being crazy behind me. So yeah, I've been learning like how to. I perfect my PowerPoint presentation with me
Hmm.
last year. But other than that, I mean like yeah, it's organization mostly. That I
I
had to
can
learn.
send you some tips on that if you want. I
Yeah,
do an
we need to
entire
do that.
organization seminar of best practices, and it's actually part of a training module that I'm doing for my Brand Ambassador Academy. And for you, Onsis, like, is there anything you've learned, like a new skill set you had to learn that it wasn't from the bar world because you now work with corporate?
Oh yeah, that was many to be honest with you. But that's already a long time ago, which basically I kept learning throughout these years. I was filling in this bag with all the additional new knowledge, and everything I learned within last 8 years with the whiskey company now gives me definitely advantage doing my work with tequila. But one thing that I really would like to acquire is I want to learn Spanish.
Ah, yeah,
I think
that's a good one.
help because Spanish is a big language anyway. It's it's huge. So I speak a little bit French though, which makes it easier for me because French and Spanish they are kind of similar. There's some similarities. So, but that would be the next thing that I'd probably be happy to learn.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially being a tequila
Uh,
ambassador.
I, are you currently learning?
Pardon?
Are you really learning actually? Like right now, are you learning Spanish or is this
Not
something
yet.
that you want to learn?
Not yet. I didn't get that far yet, but that's one thing that I would like to achieve.
And
Yeah.
and now with online, I'm sure you can get some great online Spanish courses or a tutor.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I mean, there's plenty of options. I just have to pick
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I always wanted to learn French, as I said, but and I took French lessons, and I actually, because I worked for a French company for a while when I worked in fashion. Before I got into the liquor industry, I worked in fashion for 8 years, and I worked for a French company, and they always spoke French in front of me, and said, and I was like, I need to understand what they're saying. But yeah, it's not very good. It's terrible. Philip speaks
Yeah.
French, so Sullivan, you
I,
should get him drunk. He speaks great French.
I,
That I had to learn is that obviously PowerPoint, same as you, as Sullivan mentioned already. I didn't know about that anything before. Also, how to organize the room for the event, how to lay out all the things, the sequence of your presentation, the way you're going to act, basically to put a scenario on the paper before you go out. So all these things, but it just kept coming by time went by. And so you just feel that year after year, you become more confident. I don't want to use the
Yeah.
word better because I'm not the judge who would say that. That's the audience who says that. Are you better or not? But you definitely feel more confident about what you're doing.
Yes.
And that's a long shot. So if there's self-confidence in this, then you'll probably feel much better and safer on the stage or when you are in front of the audience. And
No,
also
absolutely. And Sullivan, you mentioned this. Sorry, on this. Sorry.
I would add for anybody that wants to become brand ambassador, don't be afraid of like taking some public classes, some public speaking classes.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, this is something that this is your tool basically. You speaking to people, so the thing you need to have, one of the main tools that you need or skills that you need to have as a brand ambassador is to be able to speak in front of 2 people, 50 people, 1,000 people, and just like still delivering the message. Of course, it is stressful, but the more you do, the more you get better at it, and then it's just like, and you keep like kind of like sending the same message, so you know your message. So
Yep.
just be confident in your shoes and deliver it.
No, absolutely. And something you also said to me yesterday was, and it's something I've heard before, is learning to cater your message to your audience, because every audience is different and they don't, and I think we talked about that too, is that, every audience is different. So the consumer is different from the trade, from the distributor, to even the type of audience you have. You need to cater your message to the time. Like if you have 10 minutes versus 5 minutes versus an hour, what do you need to be knowledgeable about? And that is something that you need to learn quickly, because it's like, oh crap, they don't care about the fermentation. They just want to know like the 4 facts about like what they need to sell this brand because they're the distributor.
well, you definitely have heard about this, the elevator talk.
Mm-hmm. The elevator pitch.
Yeah, well, the elevator is the best. So you have just like what? You have like less than a minute to sell me whatever you're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. Get your elevator pitch down and know it well. Well, gentlemen, this has been fantastic. You guys have shared a lot of knowledge and a lot of patience, because this takes a lot longer than we were planning. So for any of you who have tuned in, and this will be live on the page for the next 2 weeks. So I know a lot of people watch this afterwards when they have the time. So guys, it's been so nice getting to know you a little better. I know Sullivan I've known for a little bit longer, but honestly, when I want to go to Lithuania, you're going to be my guide if you don't mind.
I can.
And I look forward to you when you finally come to America, and meet the team here. It'd be great to take you out. And Sullivan, one of these days, I look forward to meeting your beautiful daughter and your wife, because I think I've only met her once. So that would be great.
We're going to fix that. And we're neighbors.
What? You're in the neighborhood. Yeah, we really are. We are neighbors. You're going to have to come over. So, but gentlemen, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day and evening. And I look forward to seeing you both soon in person. Cheers.
Thank you for having us. Cheers to everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Lovely to re-meet you, Ansis. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.